Welcome back. If you just joined us to watching the news at 10, broadcasting live on channels television from Lagos and Abuja. A reminder of our top stories this evening. The DSS warns politicians against making provocative statements ahead of the 2015 elections. The All Progressives Congress, the APC, holds its NEC meeting, directs all its lawmakers to block all executive bills, including the 2014 appropriation bill. Nigeria makes impressive showing at the World Economic Forum. President Jonathan gives explanation to why Nigeria is the investment destination. And hopes heightened for resolution of the unrest in Ukraine as opposition and government meet tomorrow. Well, you can get details on these stories on our websites, channelstv.com and on youtube.com/channelsweb. But to get us on the move, visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows phones from their respective stores. You can also interact with the Channels Eyewitness feature on our Android and Windows 8 platforms. So if you have pictures or videos to share with us, tap on the application on your device, swipe to review the Eyewitness menu, and follow the instructions to share your reports, pictures, and your videos. And I'm handing you over now to my colleague in Abuja studios, Gloria Omezoke, who has more on the news at 10. Hi, Gloria.
Hello, Amarachi. Good to have you join us in the nation's capital. On the sideline of the ongoing 44th World Economic Forum at Davos, the Nigerian community in Switzerland have hosted the delegates to the summit. In a speech titled A Night of Good Cheers, President Goodluck Jonathan says Nigeria's investment opportunities remains a good choice for international investors. The president, who enumerated some areas of investment opportunities in Nigeria at the brief session, announced that Nigeria will be hosting the next global summit on May 7 this year.
About 2 years ago, I had a conversation with Professor Swab about building synergy and strengthening collaboration between Nigeria and WEF. That conversation has now culminated in Nigeria being the host of the World Economic Forum on Africa 2014 in the Federal Capital Territory of Abuja in May this year. We are absolutely excited about the opportunity to host such an important gathering of global business leaders and heads of government, and to make a strong business case for Nigeria as an investment destination of choice, and to expose Africa's economic potentials to the business world. Because of that, I personally reached out to a number of African heads of states, and I believe as we are going to Addis Ababa the coming weekend, I reached to almost all, and most of them have accepted to come so that they will use that platform to expose what their various countries have for the world. We hope that at the same time, it will provide additional opportunity to showcase our rich culture and tourism potential. As the largest market and the most populous country on the African continent, Nigeria possesses strong demographic dynamics in addition to vast natural resources, which translates into significant economic potentials. All this makes Nigeria one of the most attractive emerging market economies, and indeed one of the fastest growing economies in the world.
Well, the Agriculture Minister, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, has revealed more plans aimed at changing the perception of agriculture in Nigeria. We're speaking to Channels Television on the sideline of the ongoing World Economic Forum in Davos. The minister says a women-based scheme will be launched this year to enlighten women on agribusiness. Dr. Adesina also explains that Nigeria is leading the continent in changing agriculture from a development program into a business model. His optimism on the sector is detailed in this report by our correspondent Harriet Agbeyin.
Sessions continue today at the 44th World Economic Forum annual meeting in Davos Cluster, Switzerland. One of the sessions that is of particular interest to Nigeria is on food security, and the Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Akiwumi Adesina, is part of the panel of speakers talking about ongoing transformation in the agricultural sector in Nigeria and how it can help if other African countries emulate what is actually going on in Nigeria.
And so the entire budget.
The minister again highlights that agriculture should be looked at more as a business, not just in Nigeria, but also in Africa.
For us to feed the world from Africa, it means we ourselves have to change how we look at agriculture.
That's here in Nigeria.
Not just in Nigeria, but in Africa globally. But in Nigeria, we are leading the way in Africa in changing that perception that agriculture is not a development activity. Agriculture is a business.
But how much financial success has this sector recorded?
First and foremost, the number of seed companies in Nigeria grew from 10 when we started 2 years ago to 70 today. You look at the investment by the private sector, in particular, and actually Nigerians, that makes me excited, in fertilizer manufacturing is $5 billion.
All across the world, access to finance, especially for women farmers, has been a challenge the minister is hoping will soon be addressed.
We have a lot of women scientists in Nigeria, and they are brilliant, but we've got to connect them to the women farmers because they know their needs better than the men. And that's why in Nigeria now we are going to launch this year something called Nigerian Women in Agriculture and Development.
Even though there are some challenges, but those challenges the minister has promised will be addressed. Now he's very keen that going forward that most countries begin to address this situation because there's a population burst globally, and so if we do not begin to address that situation right now, we're going to have a food shortage most likely. And he's very passionate about all of this, and we know that this transformation agenda is going to continue for most of this year going forward. Harriet Agbenyi reporting for Channels Television News.
Well, more Nigerians have continued to express their support for the convening of a national conference to discuss critical national issues. Well, joining this call is a group of professionals from the South, and Southeast. They are, however, of the view that there should be no general elections until the conclusion of the conference. Addressing the news conference today in Lagos, the group faulted the Nigerian constitution, insisting that the proposed national conference should be subjected to a referendum, which would lead to a new constitution for the country.
When President Jonathan first hinted that he would convene a national conference, many criticized him for lacking the political will.
Many members of the political class
in this room are professionals in the southeast and south-south regions of the country. They are not against the national conference, but they say they do not support President Jonathan's idea of subjecting the outcome of the conference to the National Assembly.
So what is it again to return it back to the National Assembly for ratification, whereas the sovereignty belongs to the people? What we're saying here is the sovereignty belongs to the people and not to the National Assembly. The only logical way to go is to subject the outcome of the national discourse to a referendum of the people.
The group agrees that so many things are wrong with the nation's constitution, which they say has bred much of the dislocations we now see overheating the polity. The group says the conference is a top priority.
We're saying that we are not going to be with the people, and we're going to let the people know that they are not going to be stampeded into any deadline of maybe we must have an election in 2015. What is the election for? The election is to get the mandate of the people, isn't it? But we're saying that the people decide that we need to fix something that is fundamental before an election.
With the recommendations of this group, the pressure on the year 2014 mount. More pressure will now be on President Jonathan to make sure that the proposed conference holds and perhaps to favor popular opinion, subject it to a referendum. Sheung Okimbale reporting for Channels Television News.
The privatization of Nigeria's power sector may have been concluded following the formal handover of the distribution and generation companies to investors in November last year. Now, what is yet to settle on the minds of consumers is how that process translates into increased electricity supply in the interim. In this next report, our correspondent Olu Phillips x-rays the prevailing situation.
Tasty nutrition, good for you.
It was in March 2005 that Nigeria's new power regime took off effectively, and that's when the Electric Power Reform Act was passed into law, essentially to privatize power. Effective again, November 2013, the privatization of the generation and distribution companies came to a close. Steady electricity supply has been linked to national productivity, a critical component for economic growth. So, what has changed? Ira, a welder like every other down the road, bears his mind.
Every day I buy diesel worth 1,500 naira, otherwise no work, and that's in addition to electricity bills. The situation is not pleasant. I want federal government to intervene.
Small-scale businesses account for a critical mass in our economy. So, from the barber shop to a viewing center, power is critical.
The gen now, it's affecting my instruments here because the way it's sounding outside, the vibration of that generator is affecting the clipper I'm using in the shop.
I sought to know from one of the country's biggest generation companies, EGBI, and its technical partners when there will be a significant change and what may have changed already.
We are already having in place, we are already starting to carry out the overhauls that bedeviled the industry years back. We are already making plans to add capacity to the existing capacity of EGBI. Therefore, no sooner than we are going to refer back to 1320 installed capacity. I don't want to put dates on it because that is our experience in the industry. Do not put dates because the problems are heavy. The important thing is that there are people who have put their money in this matter now, and those people are driving it to get the money back. The way to get their money back is to make the industry work.
Normally it takes around 1 year to upgrade the power plant. We need some time to assess the facility and then find out the solution, and then also the start working. At least I think it's 1 year. You can see after 1 year, the EGBI is quite different from before.
And this is one of the liabilities the new investors have inherited. But what they have told me today is that they inherited it bad, but before the end of this month and probably first week in February, that unit 6 will be up and running and therefore translate into increased capacity in terms of generation.
For the men who interface daily with consumers, the distribution companies say we can give what we don't have. And this, they say, has nothing to do with the concluded privatization.
It is what we are giving at the generation that we distribute. Our minimum load demand is 970 megawatts. And as I'm speaking to you right now, because in the last 2 weeks power supply have dropped, that explanation has been given by the managing director of NNPC, which is due to vandalization of gas pipelines. So we are just getting, as at this morning, we've got only 300 megawatts. So if we remove 300 megawatts from 970, we have a shortfall of 600 megawatts, and that is what we can only sell to our customers.
Where exactly are we getting it wrong? Let them fix those areas. Is it pipeline vandalism? Is it that we are not generating enough? Is it that the dams are not enough? Is it that the gas stations are not enough? Let them put all those together and look at it. They come to a drawing table. Where exactly have we gotten it wrong? Then from there they begin to address, and our power sector will be a thing to laugh about.
Effective service delivery has everything to do with effective capture regime or system. A case in point is the metering system.
Very soon we are coming out with a robust metering system, and this system will eradicate estimated billing and also what the so-called energy theft, because we know what people, a lot of people do some funny things with our prepaid meter.
It's a learning process, though. We just transited from the public service to private. We're not overwhelmed with it, but the challenges is there.
Given that it takes between 3 to 5 years to bring a power plant on stream, harnessing the potentials of the existing capacity is what the new power owners should galvanize as quickly as possible. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
Indomie instant noodles, tasty nutrition, good for you.
That's it from the nation's capital. It's back to you, Amarachi.
Thanks a lot, Gloria, for bringing us up to speed with those stories. Now, when the News at 10 returns, Lagos State University boils as students protest decision against online registration. Do join us again.